Good morning. We are, it's Wednesday, about 7 o'clock on Wednesday, July 12th, and we are at the Policy and Personnel Committee. Our first agenda item is review questions around the 23-24 employee handbook. So, Nicole, do we want to talk about some of the
Sure. So
personnel part here?
I would like to propose, I gave everybody a copy of an example of a harassment, bullying policy that Heartland Lakeside recently adapted. I think there's some good stuff in here. I realize everyone just got a copy this morning, so if you take it home, kind of read it over, and then we can discuss at the next meeting. Any thoughts on this? It gets into cyberbullying and obviously sexual harassment is covered in our current handbook. A lot of this is covered by state statutes. I just think it would be good to put something in writing, not only for employees, maybe even the student handbook as well.
Okay. Well, what I will do is, now are these kind of one and the same, kind of go together?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what I'll do.
And this is just an example that I saw as a starting point.
Sure, sure. I can take a look at too about where do we have such policies and or procedures or, in our employee handbooks.
Sure.
Student handbooks as well as it relates to, because I know we do have a bullying and harassment policies, and like you mentioned, it is governed by state statutes and things like that too. So, but I can certainly take a look at this and we can have a broader discussion. I'm assuming at the next policy committee meeting, do you want to have started there before it goes, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Andrew, you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to, if you could put together and email us the summaries or the sections where we have existing harassment buffers for bullying, protected status, violence in the workplace, threats, intimidation, harassment. These topics that are in their titles, I'd like to review what we have on that.
Got it.
And I understand that they might be dispersed in various documents, policies, handbooks, whatever, but I'd like to just see what we have, because if it is dispersed, perhaps a summarized version would be better.
Okay. Certainly, I can get that to you guys.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
And then back to, of course, I forgot my Bible. So I did share my notes with Andrew, thank you. So obviously for the employee handbook and student handbook, if it's not on there, add page numbers.
Yep.
And then part 1, provisions applicable to all employees, which falls under 1.2. As we discussed, update the seasonal employee wages that are in there.
That has been.
Okay.
Yep. Been updated.
Personal leave, 12.1 B, item C.
12.1B. Okay. Under all applicable, or what section are you in?
Section 1.
Section 1.
Instead of, the way I read it, we're basically penalizing them for not using their time. So they're getting paid out at $10 an hour for time not accrued or not used. So if we adjust that, maybe it's an incentive not to use their time and take the payout at the end of the year.
So are you recommending it either be their same hourly wage? Same hourly wage? Okay.
Why wouldn't we just say their same hourly wage plus $5? Again, we're dealing with, you're trying to address a problem of people taking personal time during the school year. We've gone from 30 days to 50 days over the last year and a half or so. If you create an incentive where there's a financial gain for a person to not use that and take the money in the middle of summer, perhaps that will take a few days off of that 50 that we've experienced.
Well,
The
the
50 is
was
for
unpaid.
unpaid, the 50 is unpaid. That's where those days came from.
Okay.
The unpaid
Got it,
days.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, so the personal time is
Right.
something, it's a, you know, a benefit, but the statement is around is, hey, let's pay them their hourly wage or incentivize them not to take it.
Okay.
We can also, if you wanted to.
So it'd be paid out, what, after July first?
We do after July 20th, actually, on the
Okay.
June 20th payroll, because it would be as part of our, you know, the 22-23, this last
And
year.
that gets you through the school year?
Gets you through the school year. So for instance, if our teaching staff doesn't take their personal time, that gets paid out on the June 20th pay scale, so.
All right. The other thing I would just put on everybody's radar, when we're talking about, we're gonna put together, we're gonna work on trying to put a better benefits package together and more of like a retention policy. I think we need to come back to 12.1B(a) as well.
Okay,
I don't think we need to address it now, but I think we need to look at that cadence of getting those as a way to attract and more importantly, retain people, I think. Just in general, I'd like to have a broader discussion down the road. The two and 10, you know, again, we're
Yep,
trying to
yep.
retain people,
Yep.
attract and retain. I think there's probably some things we can do with that in the broader context of what are we trying to do to, you know, create a better package for folks and a culture. I think, so I'd like to put that just on everybody's radar
Certainly.
this fall as we're looking at some of these other things we've discussed. Let's come back to that as well, because I think that's something.
That was the main point of discussion, one of the main points of discussion last policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that section 12.1A through C,
Okay.
basically. Okay.
So
So
let's-
did you want to do anything with this section yet?
C, yeah.
C, right away,
yeah.
right away. So
I would change that to an
Well, do
employee
we
shall
have to-
receive their.
do we have to vote on that at the meeting?
Correct. It would be
Yeah, we have to
something
bring it
that
to
would
the
bring it
meeting
to the
for reading and then.
Yeah, so
Then
can we do that
second.
Monday?
Yeah, I can put that in on the agenda for
Yeah,
Monday.
I would like that to read that an employee will get their daily, or
Same hourly wage.
same hourly
Hourly wage.
wage. that
Okay.
they- yeah.
Okay. So
And
that's
then are
12.1C.
do you wanna do plus anything?
No, I think you clarified that. for me.
Okay,
No, we can't, if you wanted to, you could do, to incentivize them, because right now that would be just, you get your daily wage. I think, is there any incentive, again, Nicole, your question is do you wanna add $50, do you wanna add? Or keep it just daily wage this year, then continue it as a broader discussion as you take a look at the entire package, ready for the 23-24.
I would say plus 5. I mean, it would be, if the average person is, let's just, for number's sake, say 20 an hour.
You're saying $5 per hour, add $5 per hour?
To what, on top of, so you
Daily
would be
wage
getting.
plus 5.
Right, so essentially it would
Yeah,
be 25.
I'd support that. Do we have a sense how many we pay out?
I can tell you how many we do, I don't have that information. I know we don't pay out a lot of teacher, because they roll them. They usually will take one, and then we can roll one into the following year, that's typically how they would do that. But, I don't know on the support staff side how many we do.
I'm good with the plus 5.
Plus 5, or it's plus 5, okay. All right, so I
Again,
will
we
bring.
can, and again, we can, as we get feedback from folks, we can
That will
continue to address that
Yep.
going forward.
Got it.
Section 3, professional hours workday. Can we, sorry, I'm catching up.
Yep, I'm going to my agenda too, or not, the
It's
table of
part,
contents.
it's
It's
part
part-
2, I believe.
Part 2 is teaching staff, professional hours workday is section 3, yep.
can we accrue days off, same rate of pay as your normal rate of pay, incentivize people for helping, not take a cut for helping out when needed? So.
We pay them $30, a teacher $30 an hour.
And what about support staff?
Support staff, we pay them their hourly wage during that time. We pay
Okay.
them, if they are substitute teaching, if they are covering for a teacher, it's a dollar raise. It's a plus $1 an hour.
Okay, so there already is some
There
sort
is,
of an
correct.
incentive?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Any questions there?
So where does it say in this handbook, that section, that we pay them $30?
We made that change. Employees working projects outside of their day. Teacher substitution, it's on page 167. We made that change this year, on 167, teacher substitution. And $30 an hour is our curriculum rate as well, if they would come in over the summer or anything else like that.
Teacher substitution.
Okay, so when I'm on page, well, I don't know what page it is, because this printout doesn't have, but section 2, or part 2, section 2, 3.1, it says, a teacher accepts a voluntary assignment during his or her duty-free lunch period, he or she will be compensated at a rate of $10 per 1 half hour. So that would be $20 per hour, which would differ, and I get teacher substitution is different, but we're asking them, at the end of the day, we're asking them to work.
Okay, well, that would be a, let's see here.
What page are you on?
Right, trying to find, right. Let me see here.
It's gonna be
I
like
thought we addressed
110-ish.
that to be.
Oh, so we're going way back up.
Well, that's what I thought you were,
I went to 167 where he updated.
it's gonna be like
Let's see here.
Go to
That
113.
should have been.
112. 112,
Updated.
right?
112?
So much easier with page numbers.
Okay.
I can't believe I forgot the level. I had so many notes.
It's still at $10.
Yeah, it's supervision, 10 per supervision, correct, yeah, per supervision. So that's what, we made that change. That was a change for this year.
Wait,
So
so
it's,
what was it before this year?
It
If
was
wasn't
$10 an hour. It was $10 an
well,
hour.
why wouldn't they get the same? So it's an
Because they're not acting,
additional?
because this would be, if they're not substitute teaching, this is when they are covering for supervision for lunch. So they
Well,
are.
why wouldn't they get their same rate of pay?
Instead of $30 an hour, because they're supervising, watching kids instead of teaching. That's where we made that delineation. That'd be the explanation on why it would be $20 an hour compared to $30 an hour, where they were acting in a professional capacity instead of covering for an instructional assistant.
i.e. licensed to do something versus
Correct.
supervised?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Do we have any challenges filling those supervisory?
We have not. We have not had challenges doing that. We've asked our staff to do it, because say, hey, if we're short of supervisors, does anybody want to do it? Because a lot of people will then eat their lunch, hang out with kids, go outside, enjoy the time. We have not had an issue in the past with this compensation side of things.
So this is for the teacher side, then for the supervisory staff or
Support staff.
support staff, what are they getting?
It's their hourly wage, their hourly wage. Yeah, okay. Now, and most of the time for our supervisory staff, that's their role, and then they would have their lunch before or after that supervisory period, so. But if somebody is covering for them, it is just it's their normal hourly rate.
Okay, so back to Nicole's question. maybe this is a broader question, broader discussion as we think about what we want to do to attract and retain. Has the district ever had a policy where instead of being paid by $10 an hour, or your normally hour wage, you could accrue PTO?
No, we have not.
Never had that,
Never
at least
had
in
that.
your time
No.
I think it's worth a discussion.
here. Yeah.
The only time where they can accrue time off is through summer work. So for instance, if they come in and do math curriculum writing, we do offer either compensation or we have in the past, it's been a 1.5 compensation cycle. So if you work 3 hours, you get an hour and a half of comp time. So instead of compensation. So we do that through the summer work, because some people would rather have the $30 an hour and some people would rather have the comp time off. So we do offer that.
So I think the caveat to that is, I'm all for accruing. Then, let's say they accrue, then comes June 20th, can they pay
Yeah,
out?
we'd have to delineate, you know.
I-
You'd have to look at it and probably set it,
Or is that just an incentive?
yeah. Well, it could be, well, where I would say is, just off the top of my head is, well, we're gonna pay you your normally hour wage for that. If you accrue that, you're still gonna get your normally hour wage. The X number of days we give you PTO would qualify for that.
So we would have to be very clear.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you'd wanna look at it from that perspective.
I agree.
You know,
You just don't want double dipping. I mean, it's gotta be fair.
right,
I would recommend that conversation being part of the entire package, as in like, hey, as we take a look at getting prepared for the 24-25, a complete rehaul of comp, benefits, time off, that's another
Yeah.
conversation. Because you're using two different terms. So for our support staff, we use hourly wage. For our professional teaching staff, we do not use hourly wage.
yeah.
Because
We
they're on
use
salary.
Because they're a
contract,
salary,
yeah.
they're a contract, and that's why we kind of set the
Yeah.
$30 or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
$10.
Yeah, I
Those are two
understand.
different things.
Yeah, understand that. But I agree, I think all of this goes to what can we put together from these various pieces we have where we can give people options. Because I think that's one of the things,
Make it attractive too.
when we had that listening session in here 60 days ago, it was clear to certain people, certain things are important. And so trying to adapt and adopt policies that can be as simple as they can be, right? Because we want to make it as simple as we can for people to understand, but then but also broad enough that people can maybe pick and choose what's important to them. And then that way, you know, we try to put together a package for all parties, wherever they're at in their career, I think would be advantageous to attracting and retaining people.
Yeah, I mean, whether you're
I hope.
talking about compensation, benefits,
Correct.
health insurance, anything else, to say, here's our buffet, what would you like?
Right.
To try to make that happen.
Right.
Everybody's at what.
Yeah, and the idea, but have that buffet, but keep it as simple as we can so that folks understand it. Yeah. And we're gonna have to pull from a bunch of different areas, I think. Just from a
Correct.
standpoint, there's little nuggets in here, like these things we're talking about that are kind of buried away. We gotta bring them back and look at them and say, okay, how can we put that in the context and create a summary for folks? Obviously, next school year, that they can understand, that they can review as we're interviewing folks, and we find a candidate we like, and say, hey, by the way, this is our approach to benefits and retention and, you know, recruiting. It's like, we've got this, so you could be able to pick what you want based upon where you're at in your life and your career. I don't know.
Yep, yep,
It's a differentiator, I think, hopefully.
it is, because we're gonna have to take a look at different industries and see what they do. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I had section 7 wage compensation. We
And
tried-
what, are you in part 2, part 1?
I'm not sure.
I think it's gonna be way back.
Okay.
I think it's part, 3, non-exempt, is where I had it. So that's gonna be
Part 3, non-exempt, okay.
probably 180, 168.
Wage compensation schedule,
Is that what it was?
150,
150?
I think. That'd be section 7, wage compensation and expenses. For,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah, 150. That's what I had.
So, wage compensation, 7.4, payment for other duties. Employees who perform other hourly duties outside of their regular scheduled assignments shall submit hours. Examples. This was it. So, without, it says 7.4, but I wonder if it's, like 7.6, for example. IAs who substitute for another member of the support staff shall receive his or her hourly rate. Are we part-time custodians who substitute? I might have to circle back to this one. I just wanna make sure it's spelled out clearly who's getting what. Employees who perform other hourly duties outside of their regular scheduled assignment. Can be found in Part B. Sorry.
so for instance, 7.5 in that section, substitute for teacher, instructional assistants with teaching licensure assigned to substitute for an absent teacher shall be paid an additional $1 more.
Okay, so when I see with teacher licensure, that would be the equivalent of a teacher that substitutes for another teacher. They have a license, there was a different license.
What says, this is for instructional assistants.
Take instructional assistant out. I'm
Okay.
focused on teacher license.
Okay.
An employee who has a teacher licensure,
Yep.
whether they're an instructional assistant or a teacher, it's the same license.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Then why would we not pay that instructional assistant $30 an hour? Because they're not a teacher? They have the same license as a teacher, correct?
They would have, for those individuals, they would have the same license as a
Okay,
teacher.
so we're saying, because your title is teacher, we're gonna pay you $30 an hour to substitute, but because you're an instructional assistant, we're just gonna pay you $1 more an hour.
That's, yes,
Okay, but you have the same license as a teacher.
you would have the same license as
Okay.
a teacher.
I would recommend that that's $30 an hour. That's consistent with, you have a teaching license and you're substituting, we're gonna pay you $30. I think that creates two classes because of a title. But to me, they have a teaching license, a teacher has a teaching license. That's the argument if I was an instructional assistant I would make. I've got the same license as someone else, I'm just an instructional assistant, maybe they've just decided in their career, you know, that's what they want, but.
And who approves between the two schools? So let's say I work here, but I go over to intermediate to help. Who's approving?
Their supervisor would approve that. So a primary school, so all the primary school instructional assistants or hourlies get approved by Kristen. At the intermediate, it would be approved by Steve.
Okay.
To come to switch schools.
Just, no, for the hourlies, but if somebody was needed next door, and that happens frequently, if we need to move an IA from here to there to cover or vice versa, that gets communicated through the building principals and or myself.
And it's the same regardless of the school?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
I had someone tell me it's been different in the past, don't know if it's true, don't know if it's not true. as long as Kristen and Steve are on the same page, that
What's
reimbursement.
What's been different? What's been different?
Pay at intermediate versus here.
That I'm not aware of. Again, it's a documentation thing more than likely.
Okay,
I don't know, because the compensation is the same, whether you're here or there or whatever.
I'm just letting you know where my question's coming
That's
from.
interesting.
So, alright,
So over there, they're being compensated more to cover teachers than they are here.
supervision,
Supervision.
Well, that should be dictated by
It's
this.
dictated by that.
right,
Yeah,
alright.
yeah,
Do they,
I don't
can
understand.
you go back to that person and ask for like pay
Sure.
stubs to verify?
Well, I don't know.
Or just a little bit more clarification about what the concern is as it
Okay.
relates to, because for a supervision, so if a teacher,
So the
is
way
it
I'm
a teacher or an
reading,
instructional assistant supports that? IA, okay, so an IA then, yeah, that would be an interesting conversation to hear about.
and actually, well,
Because if
I'll
they're-
leave it at
That's
IA.
fine, that's fine.
I'll go back to said person. But now it says like, so for supervision, 10 per half hour. So maybe that'll, I don't know,
What we talked about earlier.
yeah. When
That's
a
for
teacher
teacher.
voluntarily supervises in lieu of the 30-minute lunch at the request of the district.
That's what I just discussed with Ron, like 10 minutes ago, at $10 an hour
Right,
on page whatever that was.
right.
Right.
Supervisory versus
Versus
substitution.
instruction.
Well, it's on record, it's all the same.
I guess here's the thing, while I appreciate people coming to board members, evidence would be better than just a conversation. And that's not an attack on who's coming to you, that's just, when we say that, when we hear that, we're paying people different, to me, that's a serious thing, especially if it's at odds with what's in our handbook. And so if that's what's happening, or being alleged what's happening, the evidence would be beneficial for all parties to be able to sit
Have them
down and
funnel
say.
through me, have them funnel
I
through
think
me.
to Ron's point, it was probably a time card or the way it was construed to record it, I don't know. I'll suggest they have a conversation.
Correct, yeah, and then maybe the three of us sit down so we can understand it better too, that's
Yeah, if-
just fine, yeah.
And I don't need to be part of it if they're
Okay.
comfortable coming to you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go back
Yep.
to 7.5, what we just did, just to make sure that I'm clear, if in fact we are gonna be moving
Yeah,
this
I wanna
forward
get
right now.
Nikki's opinion as
Yeah,
well.
so on page 151, it says instructional assistants with teacher licensure
Yep,
assigned to substitute for an absent teacher for one class period or more, rate $1 per hour. Andrew was saying that will be, Andrew would recommend, from what I understand, don't wanna speak for you, is it goes to $30 per hour, because that is what we would pay a teacher.
Who has a
Who has a
teacher
teacher
licensure?
license. Who has a teacher
I'm
license.
good with that.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation. Again, that,
It's an incentive.
well, but I think it's logical and rational to say a teacher has the title of teacher, and they have an instructional licensure, and they're getting paid $30 an hour. An instructional assistant title, who has a teacher licensure, is getting paid less.
Mhm.
They have the same license by the state of Wisconsin, why would they not be paid the same? That would be my argument as a instructional assistant.
With a teacher license.
Correct.
Yep, okay.
Do you have extra duty pay marks anywhere? Or I think, is that part of what we just covered?
You know, extra duty, we've covered teacher supervision, teacher substitution, instructional assistant coverage as well.
Yeah, I would have,
Up to you.
in that vein,
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to get to the page number, I don't know what it is, but give me a second.
And we did update the substitute pay schedule.
It was not adjusted.
Okay. Are we able to find what feeder schools are paying for subs?
Yeah, I can pull that data.
Okay,
Yeah,
and send that to us. Right, Andrew, I'm turning it over.
Page 167.
Okay.
Okay. So, page 167, this is the
Individual
extracurricular pay schedule, co-curricular pay schedule.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so, first question. Chaperones, playground supervision. Do we have issues filling those things when we're paying $8 an hour and $10 an hour in the world we're living in today?
You know, when I take a look at chaperones,
What would
I don't know, I don't ever recall, now that you say that, I don't ever recall a chaperone, us paying $8 an hour for a chaperone.
To me, a chaperone is a volunteer.
Is a volunteer, yeah.
Because for a chaperone, I mean, that leaves a lot of open-ended, like, are you getting $8 an hour if you go on a field trip?
Yeah, and if they do go on field trips, we pay them their hourly wage. I would recommend we strike that.
I'm good with that.
Okay, but playground supervision,
Yeah, that's $10 per half hour, or per 25 minutes. Yep.
okay. And
15?
that goes to,
That would be for a teacher. Because for a instructional assistant, they get their hourly. This goes back to that $10 an hour.
okay. See, to me,
So is
this
this
is,
in addition to?
No.
So they're giving up their lunch for $10.
Correct.
okay. All right. That,
Yep. And that would be the same as giving up their
Or
lunch
their
for
prep
play
time.
prep. Correct, yeah. Yeah, and to answer Andrew's question, we haven't had any issues, because we have some people who we pay them $10, and they're just like, hey, I'll go eat lunch with the kids.
I feel like that needs some clarity.
I'm gonna say playground slash, lunchroom.
And you're saying this is teacher only?
Correct, because a instructional assistant, because it's extra duty, it's considered an extra duty if you're going to step out. I think, we can clarify that. Mr. Chaperone, I'm gonna write that down first. And then we're gonna do playground slash lunch supervision, which is at $10 per supervision.
I'm done, I'll have to review when I get back.
Okay, so I've got 12.1C, same hourly wage plus $5. Substitute teacher who's an IA, has a teacher license, $30 per hour. We're gonna strike the chaperone language. And I'm gonna add playground slash lunch, just so it's clear.
okay.
And then I'll pull the substitute teacher data.
Given,
Which I have.
do we want to come back to the adding a stipend in here for
Social media.
social media?
We,
Do we want to come back to it? Because I do have one other thing, and then should we come back to this?
Then we can come back.
Okay. All right, so go to page, let's see if it was updated. I don't know what page, so give me a second. Okay, page 174.
Okay.
3.7. Is that 100% accurate?
105 per day.
September 1st, 2019.
No. We have updated it, it's 105 per day. Go to our substitute teacher.
Well, and that comes back to, are we competitive, what are feeder districts?
Right,
doing?
because our current substitute teacher rate is 105 for the first 0 to, 0 to 20 days. And then they get every 10 days, they get a bonus day. So it's like buy 10, get one free. So. the
Work
11
for us for 10 days and we pay you in.
We pay you an automatic 11. Correct. Yep.
And that is a running total for the school year. Not 10 consecutive days?
No, not 10 consecutive days.
Okay.
Not 10 consecutive days.
So, two questions there.
Mhm.
So the last time we updated our substitute pay rates was September 1st, 2019?
I'd have to go back and see. I do believe that was probably the last time we possibly updated that.
Really? Okay,
That seems a little long ago.
that seems
I don't-
surprising,
I would
given-
have to go back
I
and
would
check
just
with teachers on call.
broadly say that seems,
Mhm.
4 years.
yeah, especially with wage pressure that we've seen in the marketplace, just in general, not just in education, but everywhere. There's been wage pressure. And then the next question would be substitute pay schedule. It says the pay rate will be, A, should we add more, or B, should we add a link to a document that summarizes what you just said?
Yeah, that's for student employee rate this following pace. Prorated basis every 10 days. Yeah, because we have it, it's actually on page, and we can clarify, page 172.
The other thing I would, maybe it is, maybe that's weird.
Correct, I can update this with our current rate, because I know it's 105, and then after 20 days, it goes to.
And are substitute teachers seeing this?
Substitute teachers are probably not seeing this, because our substitute teachers are employed by.
Third party.
Third party, correct. But we tell the third party what the compensation is. So we can update this. I will get back to us with the exact, because we've got the buy 10, get one free, or you work 10 days and you get one free. I know we have, it's $120 at least, 120 or 125 after you work 20 plus days. I'll get back to you.
Details, I think, would be,
Sure, yep.
again, transparency and details, I think, would be beneficial. And if we have not updated since September 1st of 2019, I gotta believe we have.
I have to believe we have to. I may, but again, it's, maybe we haven't, I'm not sure.
Okay. If we haven't, I would highly recommend we spend this summer, to Vicky's point,
We can take a
reviewing
look
what
at it.
other districts are doing,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
doing something.
Got it.
Okay, I think that's, let's see.
Okay.
One other thing.
It's a good rate, isn't it?
I had a red one here for some reason. Oh, yeah, I don't know where this is gonna be. 15.9 alternative benefits, it's gonna be like,
Section 1.
go on 11, I think it is. Don't quote me.
15.9.
Yeah. you know.
Yep, 15.9. It's on page, in lieu of insurance, let's see. 15.9 is page 100.
Okay, go to 101, bottom of page 101.
Mhm.
Oh, you did update it.
Okay.
Copy I had was still at 6.
Oh,
Alright,
Just, it was one of those, as I was paging through, I was like, wait.
wait a second, yeah, that was updated,
Okay.
yep,
All right.
yep. Okay.
Okay, so stipends,
Stipend, yeah, so, again, just wanted to, again, I've been bringing Jim in here, as it relates to our social media presence and things like that, and kind of explaining a little bit about some of the goal work that, was asked of the board of me, and to make sure, hey, how do we continue to keep that positive message, that social media presence, and how do we reboot that, whether that be through social media, on our website, and things like that. In talking to Jim, ultimately, his department has in the past managed all of that.
okay.
And what Jim, I don't want to speak for Jim, but what Jim and his team is looking at doing is the administrative team setting up basically a schedule, making sure that messages and information and district news and happenings are occurring regularly on a weekly basis.
Happiness.
Yep, happiness and things like that, and basically working with our administrative team and the grade levels and saying, okay, who's going to be kind of responsible for content? And again, we would be leaning on our professional teaching staff to do this. Again, a very, what we would say, a small push, because some people are already, they publish s'mores, they publish weekly newsletters or whatever it is. It's just kind of putting a schedule together, making sure that it's not just one person on the first grade team who's responsible, but just kind of spreading it out and asking our staff for, 1 or 2 minutes every other week or every couple weeks or every month to say, hey, this is what's happening in my class, take a picture, and then just kind of send out some really positive news about what's happening. And Jim and his team feel that they could facilitate that upbringing and making sure that content continually gets pushed out at the rate.
You have time for that?
Yeah, I mean, when Ron and I were talking about it, part of what drove this was, in the past, Dawn and I were always looking for that content purely for the website. I mean, you look at the website, let's be honest, there's a lot of old stuff on there, there's a lot of old pictures of kids. And, we totally understand in the day of a teacher, they have a million things going on. So doing this and kind of creating that, just that flow of content for not only social media, but for the website, and just having it all in one spot where teachers can send it to, would make it a lot more efficient for us.
So create like social media at Merton.K12.
Yep, and I actually already have that. This last year when we had a person doing that just as kind of, hey, I'll take this over for now. I had created that so I could manage and I could kind of oversee what was being put out there and everything else already at both locations. And the principals have access to that as well.
Sure.
But that's already in place.
Okay.
So, the mechanism that I have for putting things out there, it's already there. And since that person, when I took it over, I've been just putting everything up myself. So, I'm just kind of looking at this as kind of a streamlined thing where people just send it to that one location and we just kick it out to everything we have.
Have you given thought to, so primary seems to be Merton Community School District and intermediate is Merton Intermediate School? Are we?
I would suggest.
Do we want to change back to primary or get rid of intermediate and have it all on one?
We've had talks about that just from even the website point of view. I know not many people look at the website, but one thing we've definitely noticed is just the sheer amount of content that we have. We don't really have enough for having 2 locations. It would be just placing it under the district. So everybody sees literally everything that's going on in both.
Because right now, if you go on the Merton Community School District
Yep.
page, it's all primary.
That's because that's the only content we normally get.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think then intermediate should probably be pulled,
Yes.
because nothing's been updated since
Exactly.
February
And
in
that's,
there.
yep, and that's something
And
that
it's
Dawn
not a
and I-
knock on anybody.
No, it's not.
But as a parent, it's
Yep.
confusing.
Yep.
So just one location.
And that's something that Dawn and I actually had talked about yesterday was, regardless of who's doing it, making sure that we just have the one place. Or if we want both locations, okay, then we need to truly have 3, because there's some district things that could communicate it. I don't think having 3 is smart, because, okay, where do I go for this? And then we're back in that scenario.
Just need one.
Right.
Yeah, we just need
We're
more.
not that large.
So yeah, there's different, what Facebook calls it, different profiles for different locations. It would be moving down to 1. Like the Instagram account we have, it's just 1.
Mhm.
And so that's what I would say we go to.
For Facebook.
Yep.
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 I'm good with all that. Just a friendly reminder, I think part of what we talked about in the broader goal context is creating a document
Yep.
that is
Correct.
highlighting all this. The other piece I think we're gonna wanna be clear about in probably August, before school starts, is a clear, concise message to our families that this year we're doing something different with our social media. It's gonna be just this, so to Nikki's point of like, hey, we've got this and we've got this, people are gonna be like, where did this go? we wanna, hey, we're combining to streamline,
Yep.
you know, I think is important. And again, I think the message to staff as we're rolling this out is, we had a very tough year. We need positivity. You know, we need the message of positivity out there weekly, because there are so many good things happening, and it was just drowned out by a lot of negativity.
Noise, yeah.
And there was still great things happening all of last year, and unfortunately, none of that was being highlighted or discussed. And I think we just need to highlight all the great things that our staff is doing, our kids are doing, and, you know, at both schools.
Yep.
We can be doing updates on, hey, this is the construction that's taking place, want a sneak peek?
Yep.
I don't know that comments need to be on, a simple like, it doesn't need to turn into,
Yeah, I would,
Yeah.
we're not gonna go ahead.
The other piece is, I would like to see it all year round.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
this is it.
meaning, Jim, I'm sure you're gonna have you and Dawn are gonna have a backlog of material. So like in the summer, that all can all get pushed out of like,
Yeah.
hey, I know it's summer, but we're looking back at, you know,
Yeah.
February and kids were outside in the snow or
Yeah.
whatever, you know, whatever, I mean, it's just,
and don't forget about the big kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
again, I think we need, again, creating a culture of showcasing the greatness that's happening in our classrooms and in our district. We need help from the staff. I mean,
Yep.
we need them to feed the beast to be able to get that out
And
there.
part of what Nikki's talking about is, you know, in the past with social media, it was very reliant on the building principal. And, I mean, we all know Jay, he was on Twitter, he was on social media a lot, putting
Yeah.
tons of stuff out there. And it's not a knock on anybody, social media isn't everybody's thing, and it's totally fine. But creating that channel for, hey, this is going on, can you throw this out there?
Right,
And
whether
not
it's
putting it on
playground,
teachers to do it
music,
themselves.
or
Yep,
lunch, library.
Exactly.
We're gonna have the same expectation for, and to say, Nicole, like you said, we're not gonna forget about the big kids. No, it'll be the same
Yep.
expectation
they're part of the
across,
schedule.
across the
And then you're
board.
gonna shut down the intermediate page?
Yes,
And
we're,
just-
we're just gonna go to one district
Perfect.
page. Yep.
And Andrew, I will be submitting
Yeah.
an expectation document
Yeah.
to you guys, so that you guys have that, so you know what to expect from this opportunity we have.
And then are we adding a stipend?
I think we should.
I think we should.
Should get going.
I am all for it.
Okay, all right.
So this is gonna be a two-person job.
Yeah,
Okay. My recommendation would be for the first year to make it $1,000 per person.
Okay,
I was gonna
And-
say 2,000, so.
Yeah, so,
okay,
and my rationale there is, it's something we're trying to be more focused at this year. We're asking for weekly content, we're asking for year-round stuff. And I think, let's take a look at it, and part of your review of your employees, you'll be able to come back in a year and, you know, address the policy committee, whoever that may be, to
Like we
say
do with
whether
other
that was,
stipends. Yeah.
whether that was
Certainly.
sufficient or not
Okay.
sufficient, and the policy committee or the board in general be able to see what type of work was done
Certainly,
for the money.
sure.
I
Fair?
actually
Okay,
would like to say 2,500. NJHS is 2,500, Student Senate is 2,500,
It's fine,
other year-round activities are 2,500, so just keep it cohesive.
that's good.
okay, okay,
Thank you, Jen.
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll add that into employee handbook changes as well.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to district administrative evaluation. So Rebecca asked us to take a look at adding a fifth number, making it a five rating scale.
I think either a 5 rating scale, she just wanted to, the way I heard the feedback was, is just somewhere highlighting just meets expectations.
Okay.
Whether that's changing number 3, district administrator meets expectations. And then number 4 would be exceeds.
So I would just make
Or
it a
just make it 5.
5-point
I
scale
would
and
too.
make number 3
Yeah.
meets expectations.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what and I think that was a good catch and a reasonable catch.
Mhm.
When I think about my evaluation, I think I'm on a 5-point scale. It worked.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I'm
That
good
was,
with
that
that.
was the feedback that was
Yeah.
given. Okay.
So I'm good with that, and that would be my recommendation.
That's on the board agenda, and I'll make sure that those get that on there too as well.
Okay.
Okay, all right, student handbook. Anything with that?
Is this just a continuation of what you presented
Yeah,
to the
just
board
just
in
present to the
June?
board to see if there was anything that was desired or anything from that standpoint. And I haven't received any feedback from the board members regarding this. But, just wanted to-
I don't think I had anything, I'm just skimming for yellow.
Basically, the yellow part would be just the change in our attendance procedure.
And again, we can make changes at any time
Correct.
if we get into
Correct.
cyberbullying
Yep.
or.
Yep. Certainly.
Alright, I'm good.
Because cyberbullying would be covered underneath our bullying policy.
And intermediate was the same for
Same thing.
attendance?
Same. Yep.
I'm good with
You
that.
got it. Okay. So any future agenda items? You already added one. Nicole and I will put together basically where we have these highlighted, whether it be in policy and our handbook, from our first conversation that we had at right around 7 o'clock.
Yep, and then what we discussed, do we need to review? So substitute teacher, you're gonna email us, so we don't need to put that on the agenda, correct? Expectations for social media? Or,
That's more of his goal work,
okay,
so
Yep.
that document comes through for
I'll share that
closed
document
session.
through, I'll share that with the board as part of my goal.
alright, and then where do we need to pick up, policies?
On policies, yep, so we will start with, 400s, I do believe. So we'll start with 400s, and again, that'll be another heavy hitter.
Okay,
So we'll start that more than likely in September. I
Okay.
do believe we'll stay on the same rotation from that standpoint.
400s are,
400s are, I have to go, let me see here. I do believe it's
I'm only asking, do
more
we-
staff.
okay, so do we need to do another early morning meeting, let
Let
people
me-
come in?
Let me take a look at, Marie and I were talking about this, and I'm wondering if I had that mixed up, if we were gonna start with maybe a couple of the easy ones,
I
because,
feel
I thought
like
that's
that's
what was
what
an
we were
email.
doing.
I thought an email was like, we have to do these this year, but let's start later on because there's less of them, and I
Yeah.
thought you had an email on that.
I did,
Maybe
let me
6
double
days.
check, which
So
ones
I
we're going
guess
through, because I already have that
Future
organized.
policy, or future agenda
Yeah.
item would be wherever we need to pick up.
Correct, because the goal again would be to get through 400, 500, and 600 for this,
Sure.
during this calendar year. or-
So-
And then just be aware if we need to, who we're affecting, if we need to have some
Correct.
input or dialogue.
Correct.
So then are you suggesting, because you said September, have a policy committee meeting in September?
Let me, for sure in September, we'll need.
Okay.
Let me double check and see whether or not we need to start in August as it relates to some policy review.
I would like to have an August meeting, even if it's a quick one.
Yep.
Okay.
And the purpose of there is I would like to start creating an outline on this broader
Yep.
context picture. What I'd like to be able to do is sit down as a group, even if it's for 30 minutes, and just brainstorm the, as we talked about in this document, there are a number of things in here that we maybe need to pull and look at. So just creating a list, an outline list of things to think about and address and look at, not only internally, but then externally, how maybe other organizations are looking at it. So I think in August, again, it's just a first step planning to something so that we've got, you know, a detailed list of all the different things we're gonna need to touch.
Okay.
Because I think in order to do this right, we need to take a very broad initial view of this. It's like, what do we need to figure out, and then kind of try to maybe figure out what's important to people as we're looking at it.
Yep,
So that could be more of those, again, those listening sessions. I think we've committed
we've committed to.
and have a
Yep.
schedule for that.
Yep.
So planning now, so that when we sit down, like, hey, these are the things we're gonna look at. Are they important to you or not important to you? Because
Great
if
idea.
we hear back from folks saying, who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, well then we don't have to waste a lot of time.
Mhm.
We can just focus on the things that are important.
We give them notice and we're planning ahead.
Yeah.
Yep,
Just
Great
keep,
idea.
keep the ball rolling.
So even if that one is like 30 minutes where we talk about the things we pulled out of here, we talked about some additional
We'll come
benefit
back in
things.
August anyway and talk about this too as well,
Yeah.
so.
So that maybe it's
Another hour.
maybe it is
Another hour
maybe an
meeting.
hour meeting.
Another
where we
hour
Do
meeting.
that and then this.
Do you want to set that meeting date right now?
sure.
Hang on, I gotta connect to the
And as a side note, September 12th through the 21st, I'm not available.
I saw that for the annual meeting.
Okay,
So you're not at the meeting?
no. I brought up changing it, but we can't because it was.
Yeah.
Stay well.
Yeah.
And Nicole, if that's something that's permanent in your schedule, let me know.
Pretty standard.
Pretty standard, so
Yeah.
then we can talk about if the board decide, actually it's an annual meeting, it's the electors decide when
Okay.
the meeting is, so, but that's just something to consider too, as well, if we need to. Looking at either the week of the 14th or 21st,
I would need it to be the 14th, 15th, or 16th. Preferably the 14th and 15th.
14th works for me,
Does that work for you?
15th is.
I've got new teachers on, Monday would be difficult, but Tuesday morning
works
or
for me.
afternoon, I think I can probably work around with the new, especially if we did it at 7 AM, if that works for everybody.
15th?
Yeah.
15th, 7 AM? Okay, I'll send the calendar invite. Okay, and so if any other agenda items come up, because we've got review of, which would be just kind of review and where are all of the
Yeah.
the staff and the policies around workplace violence, threats, intimidation, harassment, bullying. And then we've got basically just kind of an outline for
Pre-planning.
pre-planning meeting for compensation benefits, review. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thank you, all right. Then
Thank
we
you.
are
Thanks,
finished.
Jim.
Thank you.
Coming in early, I'm sure that was hard.
You were leaving late, was that yesterday?